So, Curtis, introduce yourself. Who are you? Where were you born? What did you do all your life? How did you get to be where you are?
You know, I'm just a guy. I'm just a normal guy like everybody else who's probably the luckiest guy in the world. Um, I was born at a time when computers were just coming out, got a job at 17, made a ton of money because I didn't know any better. I mean,
What did you do to make that ton of money at 17?
um, I learned to program algorithmic trading systems for commodities trading, which it turns out is very lucrative. I did it for like 4 or 5 years. Got bored with it. I traded with the best group in the world, a group called the Turtles. In 2007, I wrote a book about the experience, and it was a bestseller. I probably sold 350,000 copies worldwide. But the reason it sold a lot, I think, is as much because of the inspiration that it gives people. Because it's like somebody started. I mean, my family were peasants in northern Germany originally and came to the United States. My grandfather died when he was 46. My father was 14 when he died, and they had 7 kids. And my mom or my grandmother went to work at General Motors as a janitor, and he got a job as a computer repair guy originally, and because he joined the Navy, and I was a millionaire by 21, and money was never important to me. I think that's why I was able to make a lot of money, is because it just kind of was like money comes, money goes, who cares? And I retired, got into tech. I ran a developer tools company. We sold kind of to all the developers in the Macintosh community. I used to give uh, big presentations at Mac developer conferences and things like that. Almost all the Macintosh developers used to know my name in the late '80s and early '90s. Got out of that and started getting into enterprise software and bigger companies, and then eventually got back to Silicon Valley, and it was kind of like in the late 1998, 99. I was working with some startup people. Over the years, it turns out I picked a very good group. One of the guys runs Pinterest engineering. The other guy runs Eventbrite engineering. Another one runs Google Play. The CEO we all worked for at one of the places is the CEO of Splunk, which is a multi-billion-dollar company right now. But nobody knows who I am because I left Silicon Valley in 2000 because the bankers had taken over venture capital. And I'm like, well, I'm not doing a fucking deal with the bankers in New York City, which is essentially because the bankers in New York City stole my company in 1995. I'm a tech hacker. I was like, all right, I'm going to take you guys on. I know finance. I've already been a millionaire. I know your games. I've been in the rooms with you guys. I've spent the 3 weeks taking my company public. I know the kind of crap you lawyers pull, and I know how to take you down. So I've spent the last, I don't know, 15, 16 years working on that. But I kind of got sidetracked when I was in the Virgin Islands trying to make some money in a hedge fund. I met these sixth grade young black kids in the ghetto and like with the worst school district in the United States almost. And they were just as smart as the kids I grew up with. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, I had all these ideas that came to me from what media was telling me that these kids would be, oh, we need to help them because they're so. No, that wasn't it at all. They were just, nobody believed in them. It's like they weren't given any opportunity. They were being stuck in these super hot rooms. And, in the Virgin Islands, it's tropical, it's warm, and they didn't have any air conditioning. But all the people who ran the administration for the education department lived in air conditioning. And so I said, all right, I want to go fix this problem. I've spent my fortune and lost it and gained it like 2 more times in the process of trying to fix this. And I don't know, about 2011, I started realizing Twitter is the solution to this, because all of a sudden I could start having conversation with everybody around the world who was doing the same thing I was trying to do. And so I met people like Bertola, and I met Irma Wilson, and I met Stephen Putter, and I met a whole bunch of people, and we all had these interlocking friend groups. Like I probably have, I don't know, before your experiment started, I probably still had 5 or 6 or 10 common friends with you. And the common friendness is like a measure of two things. It's a measure of your trust in others you don't know as an individual, right? And it's also a measure of the strength of our relationship. So even though I don't know you really all that well, I know that we're philosophically hooked together because we're both willing to do that. I'm willing to sit there and say confirm, confirm, confirm to a whole bunch of people I don't know because they're your friends. Because I know that that means that they're philosophically aligned with you. That they're people that are obviously trying to do the kinds of things that you're trying to do. Maybe they're more tactical in the sense that they're specifically trying to help themselves get a better job or whatever, but they're still into the ideas that are driving what you're doing, or they wouldn't be following you. And so that brings them into my network, and I'm like, great, I got a ton of people in Pakistan that I know. And if I go to Pakistan, I'm going to help them do something that they want to do, and we'll build something together, and it will make the connection between Pakistan and the United States stronger. It will make the connection between Pakistan and the other places I've connected stronger. And we need to build tools and technologies that show that, right? Like there's no width in our network relationships. There's no attachment to it in terms of an ability to describe it. All the tools of technology, like the thing I am, and this is going to sound arrogant, but I am the Steve Jobs of software. No one in the world is better at software than I am. No one. Because if they were, I would have seen them. I was the best software guy at Apple Computer Developers when I was in my 20s. I have been keeping up. Right now I'm working on the OpenCog Foundation, Advanced AGI Group. I always come back and do stuff. I keep up with stuff. And I would have seen it if somebody was that good. And the reason nobody's that good is because as soon as the internet came, all of the things that we learned in the 60s and 70s and 80s got lost. And the whole generation of people, starting with Elon Musk's generation, actually, don't know what the fuck they're doing when they're building software. They really don't. They took all the lessons of the 80s and 70s, and because they couldn't implement them in the tools at the time they were building, because those tools didn't exist and nobody was building them, they started doing these kind of hack together and cardboard Band-Aids. And so what I'm personally doing is I'm hooking together everything in a way that we can basically redo the internet completely from scratch, and yet have the architecture sit inside the existing infrastructure, and then we can take out the top and the bottom, and we can own the middle. We can get rid of all the platforms, we can get rid of Facebook, and we can take all the money that's being sucked out of our networks, and we can use it to making the system better so that we can actually live as human beings better. Because nobody likes what we're doing, but we haven't figured out a way to undo the relationships because some small groups of people are holding on to too much for themselves, and we don't have a way to counteract that. But we do have a way. We do have a way. I've been thinking about that problem for 15 years. Lots of people have been thinking about pieces of it, and we finally have enough people, and we're talking, we can pull this off. By the end of the year, this will be a different world. No question in my mind. And it's not because it's going to happen quick. It's not been happening quick. I've been doing this for 15 years. Michelle Ballins has been doing it for probably 10 years longer than that. You know, Fleming Funch, I know, has been working on this stuff for at least 15 years. And, you know, and we've been working, like lots of people have been working on making the world a better place, right? So right now, we got a huge opportunity to make that happen. The key with everything is convergence in time. Like if we all do something a little bit here and there, it scatters around. But if we all decide on May 4th of this year, we're going to do something, that's a big deal. We can take over Twitter, we can take over news if we do it all on May 4th, for example. Now, why did I just say May 4th? Well, because recently I just looked. May 4th happens to be a very interesting day. It's Star Wars Day. It is the day that the War of the Roses battle was done. It has a lot of historical significance, and it's 3 days after Earth Day. So people are already thinking about the Earth. They're already thinking about lots of things. there was one specific reason. Let me find you that I thought it was really interesting. That May 4th was okay. So in the U.S., the Freedom Riders began a bus trip throughout the South in 1961 on this day. Oh, it's the Kent State shootings in Ohio that is the reason I picked May 4th, because Kent State was like the first example of where we saw in the United States how our huge military-industrial system of oppressing the people got out of control. We jail more people in the United States than any other country in the world. You know who those people are? Brown people. Brown people. 95% of the people in the jails in this state are brown people. Do you know why it's brown people? It's not because of racism. It's because they don't have any power, and they can suck the money out of those people without anybody complaining. There's white poor people in there for the same exact reasons. So the cops aren't actually prejudiced. They're just implementing the system's rules, which were designed to make money for these rich people who are concentrating. We can stop that. We as a family just say, no, we're not doing that anymore. We're not buying anything from your money. Like your money, you corporation over there that's doing this bad thing, we're not taking it. You can't use it in our store. We can do that with technology. We can give people different rates of exchange into our particular different pricing. Like you come into my place and you're an asshole, great. You pay the asshole taxes 3 times the normal pricing. Why? Because you run this company that's oppressing, or that, doesn't pay health insurance to its employees, and that, we're paying taxes to support because you're a jerk. We can do all that right now. We could coordinate lots of things, but we're not doing it because we don't have a global system with which we can do it. They're all owned by those companies that are sucking the money out. We can build that. It's not, from a technology perspective, the opportunity is the fact that all that technology is so terrible, and people don't even realize it's terrible. Like, it drives me crazy when I'm programming right now. It's like, every time I use Google Docs, it's insane how many errors I run into in the course of using it for 20 minutes to do something trivial. I'm thinking, who is actually paying attention to the software and saying, this is a bug? No one. They don't even know what a bug is. Like you highlight a line of text and you say, I want it to be, header 1. And the whole paragraph below it highlights. And then you try and fix the paragraph below and it takes the header and turns it back to the normal text. I mean, you waste 5 minutes. Okay, 5 minutes for me, 5 minutes for you. All of a sudden we got 50 people dead because of that one bug. 50 people's lives gone because Google is shit. That's the kind of stuff we can fix. And because it's so bad, because people have been sucking so much money out, because they've been concentrating it so hard in their own pockets, they're so vulnerable. We could do it literally in one day. We could do it on May 4th of this year. Like, I am going to build that with my people. My people includes anybody who wants to come. And so, literally, I just got out of doing research. I was in jail. I didn't have any money. I made some money programming to get back on my feet. I'm spending all of it to get friends to come to Rotterdam to help us fix this problem with a bunch of groups that are trying to work on the same thing. So I can help these young people who got the energy, the time, learn how to really make awesome software. We're going to do it online. We're going to stream it. So you got people in Pakistan who want to participate in it? Absolutely. You come in there. You can work on the code. We'll put it on GitHub. You can work on pieces of it. You want to do whatever. I can organize massive scale. The reason is because I grew up as one of Jehovah's Witnesses. And you know what we used to do? We used to put up an entire church in 3 or 4 days from scratch with normal U.S. building codes, which normally would take a church like 9 months to a year. We used to do the same thing on buildings. In a week and a half, we'd put up a massive building that would hold 3,000 people. Do you know how we did it? We coordinated all the times. It was a logistical operation that was super well organized. So I grew up knowing how to do that kind of thing. You know who else knows how to do that? Movie people. The logistics and operations for putting together a movie is the way we solve almost all of our problems, because it's just a simple logistics problem. So we take all those ideas. I bring tech people from the movie industry who already know those ideas. We start spreading everything, and we share the proceeds. That's why I'm building finance stuff that is cooperative. So we can all pool our money, and instead of all of us having to have $5,000 in the bank account or $100,000 or whatever the heck we think we need for safety in case something, we pool it together. Now we got $20 billion that we're all sharing that we can use for safety. And oh, by the way, because we all have access to the $20 billion, we now all pay tiny interest rates. We now all have excellent credit because we never let somebody's one little mistake or their one little insurance, or whatever the problems were, by the time you even it all, we're making sure that everybody, our whole family is okay. But we can do that stuff. That's what big corporations do. But they do it all for the benefit of 50 people at the top. So that's what I'm about. I'm about fixing this thing with plans that are implementable, that people, you do this, you do this, you do this. We all do it on such and such a day. And everybody gets to build a piece. Whatever what you want to do, great. But just make sure you do it on this day when everybody else is doing it, or before or after, whatever you think. But know that on such and such a point is going to be the peak of the convergence. If you want to be before, cool. If you want to be after, cool. If you're before and too many people are before, we're going to move it this way. If you're after and too many people are after, we're going to move it this way. So everybody just does what they want, but we're coordinating it with intention and time. That's all. We're just saying, in this point in the future, that's the target, because resonates with a lot of stuff in the past. Pakistan had a war where a general who was a good guy got beat by somebody else on such and such a date. Well, you know what? Everybody in the U.S. is going to know that, because we're going to make sure everybody knows that. Germany had a battle. We're going to make sure everybody in the world knows it, because such and such a date, we're going to highlight all of the things that were oppressive toward normal people that were done by governments all over the world. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to learn history. And everybody's going to know that the reason we're doing it on that date was that date. Things like that, where we can all kind of bring in our own cultural experiences, what's important to us, our festivals, our holidays. And to the extent that they coincide in time, I think there's a reason for that. And we can find ways to culturally pull people together. So, have music festivals that are both massive and convergent, where we can have our bands that are local all playing a piece of some giant symphony that everyone's playing all over the world at the same time. 25 different genres of music and stadiums all over the world. We have the technology to do that so that the sound happens at exactly the same time. So that the drum beats that everyone's hearing all over the world are happening literally at the same instant. We can do that. The timing to do that in a cell phone is way, way, way more accurate than what you need to do something like that. So there's all these opportunities that we're missing because giant companies are driving everything, and the giant companies are run by stupid people. Stupid people who have no idea how the technology works and have no idea how the implications of their decisions are affecting everything else in the world. And it's because hierarchies and power structures are stupid inherent. It's not because the people themselves are stupid. Stupid is like plugged up ears because they can't hear, because they're so far insulated from the experience of the people who are actually talking to the customers. That's just dumb for humanity. It's dumb for families. And, why should we have people in India, Pakistan, all of Africa, not all have exactly what they need in terms of computers and internet? Does it cost more for this computer? Really? No. It's just some company wants to suck the money out of you. If we all built the same, we could build the best computer for everyone and have way less money spent on that than if doing what we're doing right now. So we could take governments. In the United States, we spend ridiculous amounts of money to make our lives more miserable, paying for people to cause bureaucracy that we do not benefit from. We're paying for that. I guarantee we could outsource the entire U.S. government operations, everything, for 1/3 the price. And everybody would be 10 times happier. There would be no deaths, no wars, no, are we worried about Islamicism. All right, well, how about you let us take care of that problem? And it will only cost you 1/3 of your current customer price, the government. The government's terrible. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to present that exact argument. I know how to not have the Pakistan government dangerous, because I don't think they are to begin with. Number two, we're going to do the same thing in Pakistan. We'll let the Pakistani people outsource their entire government and for 1/3 the price, and have all the bureaucracy go away. Now, the government may not want to do that. It might take a little while, but the people are going to want to do that. And you know what? When the people do that, everybody's way safer. Because what person is sitting there saying, gee, I would really like the United States to come over here and bomb the crap out of my family so my kids die. That's what I want. No family's saying that anywhere in the world. The government head might be thinking, well, I don't really care if this whole village gets killed because I'm making this big bribe from this, other company, or my tribe it's all about a power struggle at the top. That's happening. But you don't have normal people sitting there saying, gee, I really think we need another war. It doesn't happen. So all we need, we literally have all the pieces in place. In a year, 2 years, 5 years, it's going to be different. For the last, 5, 6 years, it's been progressing. But this year, it's done. We have reached the hump, and we are descending the other side. It's starting to roll. I was hoping it would start 3 years ago. 4 years. I was expecting 2012, 2013, but it took a while for everybody to kind of start to see what the problem was in a way that we could all kind of see, all right, we tried all these other things, they don't work. And we need to figure out a way to work together, but not on the same thing. So those of us in tech had a lead on that, because in computer software, when you're organizing little pieces and whatever, and so it gives you kind of an inherent ability to understand structures and organization in ways that most people don't have that ability. And as a computer programmer, you don't realize that you have that ability as a unique ability. But that's something I've noticed. It's like most people don't have that ability to kind of like, oh, well, I can just move this up, take this over here. Like you're constantly rearranging the organization of your ideas so that they're simpler, so that they're easier to understand, so they're easier when you go back. And so in the process, you develop all of these ideas. And when you look at a business or a government and you're like, well, the same idea you look at with a product. It's like, why am I having 6 people talk to this person, go through the process, and all have to come up to speed when one person could go do the whole thing, it would take 5 minutes? Or why do we even have to give them the same information that person already has on their credit card? Why don't they just give us the credit card, boom, we're done? As a software programmer, you're used to thinking that way. So you look at the world in those terms. Like, how can we make this better? But most people in government, it's more like, this is the way. This is the way. And when you try and diverge a little bit, it's like, no. Or they'll smack you, or they'll jail you, or they'll yell at you, or they'll fire you, or they'll freeze your bank account, or all sorts of terrible reactions from the giant thing that is the government. So that's who I am. I am just one human trying to change the world, just like everybody else. But I'm also the most experienced software architect in the world. But that's my thing, my little thing, my piece. And I was lucky enough to be 4 or 5 years after Steve Jobs in the tech industry. As a successful young 17, 18-year-old, watching him as a 23-year-old, I watched everything he did. I watched every mistake he made and never made those same mistakes. I made other ones. But I learned, I was watching him the whole time. He was always 5 years older than me. Never met him. Bill Gates, same way. Bill Gates and I were like 20 feet apart at the Fremont, the Fairmont in San Jose when Mac developer conferences would happen, because we were one of the few people who could afford that hotel, because it was a super expensive hotel. And I never said hello to him because I wanted to say hello to him as an equal, and he didn't know who I was. one time I stood up in front of the entire Macintosh developer community when Steve Jobs got kicked out for about 2 years, and I looked at them, and I looked at Jean-Louis Gasset, who was the president of Apple Products at the time, the most senior guy on the technology side. I said to him, look, we have had, Steve's left, we had the Macintosh 2, which is a color Mac, it was an awesome computer, big upgrade. All of a sudden, for the last 2 years, we've had essentially the same computer, just with different packaging. What's going on? What are you guys doing? Like, this is not progress. I said that to him as a 23-year-old in front of 2,500 people. But that used to be all of the developers in the world, because that's all who ever fit there. So a lot of those guys, I mean, nobody knows who I am because I left tech in 1999 to go take on Wall Street. And I'm coming back. I had been probing Wall Street. I've been probing the weaknesses. I studied physics specifically so I could find the weaknesses in their physics theories, so I could understand the implications of those weaknesses in their physics theories for the financial trading models that they have. And when I discovered that, I looked at it and I said, are you kidding me? They're using static models. All of them are using probabilistic static models. They have no concept of flow. They have no concept of cascade, as in, this causes this, you reach a certain level, and then this is going to happen. They don't have any of that. They have no idea that if this happens and this happens, then this is going to happen and everybody's screwed. They have no idea. We can use this. I ran a test. I went to Spain. My friend in Madrid runs Bolsa.com, which is basically markets.com. It's the largest non-English speaking trading information. It's for small traders, like individuals, not banks. And I told people in Spanish exactly what I was going to do on a public internet that was recorded and sent out. I said, do not translate this to English. I said, if you don't translate it to English, they will never hear about it. Because to them, if it doesn't happen in English, it doesn't exist. I said this in Spanish, and you could go get the tapes. It'll be hilarious. And I said, we're going to do this. We're going to go find all the bad companies. We're going to sell their stocks short. We're going to do it at the same time. So everybody's going to know that Monsanto is going to go down next Monday. And we're going to say this publicly, right? And then everybody is going to stop buying everything from Monsanto, and we're going to have shorted the stock so hard, so leveraged, that we will make more than the entire price of Monsanto on the short. We could buy back Monsanto, fire the jerks who are running the company, and take the good stuff they're doing and give it away. That's all totally doable, because the people running the money are not very good at what they're doing, actually. They have been cheating, and they have been stealing their way to profits. I didn't realize it. I grew up in Chicago. In Chicago, the traders are all good, hardworking, normal people. Because if you're not trustworthy in Chicago, where they used to have face-to-face pit trading, you had somebody who was not a trustworthy person on the other side, nobody would trade with them. Because at the end of the day, you know, they might have lost $200,000 on a trade. If they weren't honest, they would just not report it, and you would not be able to get the $200,000 from them. Because the exchange there was no recording. It was just like, did it happen? No. All right, nobody would trade with that person. Literally, everybody would hear about that from this person who they trusted. No one would trade with that person's gone. They can't trade. So Chicago is all about, everybody knows who everybody else is that they can trust. Right? So my guys in Chicago, I just call up to somebody, hey, what do you think of this guy? And they say, hey, good people. I don't believe with it. I don't buy his politics, but he's good people. Great, that's all you need to know. You don't have to have a contract with them. Chicago is going to crush New York in finance. And Chicago is a friendly town. Midwestern people, farmers. You know, most of the people in finance in Chicago grew up trading on the fields. The guy I used to work for had $10,000 he got from his dad in college, turned it into $150 million by the time he was 35 years old. Taught me to trade in 2 weeks. Over the course of the next 4 years, I made him $32 million. That's what my book was about. But that's just one piece of my luck in my life. I've literally been the luckiest person I know. I took a company public. Um, I my girlfriend in 2005 was voted Miss Congeniality in the Miss Universe contest in Bangkok. When I started dating her, she wasn't even Miss Virgin Islands. She was just Tricia, and she's a super smart, beautiful, awesome woman who now has contacts with like 150 gorgeous women in their early 30s all over the world who have very good political connections. I know people who know, like, I'm one removed from tons of famous people. I know very few. But we're all like that. Like, all of the people who are sitting at the center trying to make change, we have diverse networks of people ranging from farmers who are just trying to feed their family to, I always know the bartenders and the doormen and any people I interact with, I always know who they are. Because to me, it's just stupid. It's like you're walking by this person and you don't know who they are. Every day you see them, you don't know who they are. Like, how's that any fun? I mean, it's way more fun when you come in and they say, hey, they're smiling because you're one of the few people who pay attention to them. That's way more fun. So, rich people who are like arrogant elitists, they're actually stupid because they're causing themselves not to have very much fun in their lives. They're making their lives miserable. When you're friends with everybody you're dealing with all the time, life is glorious. It's wonderful. So, I mean, that's my personality. I'm just like, I like people. And I happen to just, the strange confluence of finance and tech. Like, no one in the world is as good at software as I am. I'm dead serious. There's no one in the world that's good. That was true 20 years ago. And no one in the world is as good at making money trading as I am when you marry those two things together. Because all of trading is software now. And I've married that with science. I found the weaknesses. And everything I'm doing is for everyone. That presents opportunities that don't exist in the normal circumstance. Because I can say there, hey, all of you people in the developing countries who are getting screwed, I will let you have an equal share in the partnership that buys Apple Computer. And you want to start a factory? You want to start an Apple store in your town? Great, we'll help you. Right? It'll be an official Apple store. You keep the money and feed the people there. And we'll make sure, as long as you're going to sit there and tell us that these people can't afford it, we'll give you cheap stuff. It'll be the same. It won't be cheap in quality. It'll be inexpensive in price. We can afford to do that if we build a network of people we can trust. Because then we could take the money that we're charging, $680 over here, and we can spend the $50 that it actually takes for the machine 4 other places and still make a ton of money because we're selling the whole world iPhones. And now we can save a ridiculous amount of money because everybody has the same thing. We don't have to have 45 different versions of software. 45, all that stuff is tremendous expenses. Food, same thing. I mean, we have all those different kinds of packaging, so we can't have stuff that we can just wash because it's all different. All that's about competition. It's eating up the resources of the planet for no good reason. We could easily use the current resources and start dropping them down just by sharing stuff, just by building stuff that doesn't break every 5 minutes and have to get replaced and rebuilt from scratch. So, I mean, everybody I know gets that. And we're to the point where we're working together on it. This is not going backwards now. It's the momentum is rolling. And it's like, no one I tell this to doesn't think that's a great thing. Like, how many people in the world are sitting there saying, I think we really ought to give more money to the rich people who already have too much and are not willing to share it. It's not about being rich. I have tons of friends who are rich, awesome people. It's the ones who think they're better than everybody else and think that it's okay to basically suck money out of everybody else and deprive people of basic things so that they can live on tons of money that they mostly aren't even using. those are the people that are causing the problems. So
So
tell me about yourself. What's driving you?
so
Who are
it's
you